Boys, we're back. I know I haven't posted in about 6 months, but we got a good video today. We're doing a card builder for UFC 318, Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway. Here's my thing about the UFC. I'm perfectly fine with them making these non-championship bout main events for pay-per-views, only if the rest of the card is completely stacked because they're continuing to raise their prices, like $80 for a pay per view now, $70, and we're getting cards like UFC 312, UFC 315, where there's like barely any ranked fighters on the card. There's three WMMA events. So for this card, what I really want to do is try to stack the prelims, stack the main card, and just make it worth the money that we're trying to charge. Because $80 is kind of crazy. Let's go straight into this first prelim that we have, though. We have Peyton Talbot versus Davy Grant. Oh, why is he looking at me like that, dude? Davy Grant, I don't know how old he is, but he's got to be getting up there. He is coming off a win after Ramon Tavares, so it's a pretty good win. He's probably somewhere in the like 30 to 20 range, best bantamweights in the world. Peyton Talbot, obviously coming off that bad loss against Raoni Barcelos at UFC 311. We all were crying at our screen when that happened. But he's still got a lot of hype. He's one of the most hyped prospects in the division. So I think giving him somebody like Davy Grant rather than like a I don't even know like a Cody Garbrandt or somebody outside the rankings who's still really good. I think this is a better idea because just get him an easy win. We know he's going to beat Davy Grant. We know he's going to move on. And you could make an argument after he beats Davy Grant that he deserves somebody in the rankings, somebody in the top 15. So I think this is good for Peyton Talbot's career. I think this could be like a good final fight for Davy Grant. I don't know how many more fights he really has left in him. He's kind of like a win one, lose one type of fighter now, except in his last performance, I think he had something like 170 strikes. The fight before that, I kind of thought it was a bit of a robbery. It was a split decision. So I think this is good for both of their careers. Let's move on to the next fight. For opening up the main card, we have Grant Dawson versus Benoit Saint Denis. Who else is there to open up this stacked main card than the biggest star in the sport, Grant Dawson, against Benoit Saint Denis? People overhate both of these fighters so much. I actually love both of these fighters. This is my main event of the night, okay? Because Grant Dawson went out there at UFC 311. I think he was like a 2-1 underdog too, or like a 3-1 underdog maybe against Diego Ferreira. He dominated him on the ground like the entire fight, beat him up. People called it a boring performance when it genuinely wasn't boring at all. He was just demonstrating his good wrestling. He's also I think he's on a 3 or 4 fight win streak right now, so he's ranked number 14. I think he deserves somebody above him instead of continuing to fight outside of the rankings for whatever reason. I think Benoit Saint Denis is the right guy for that. I know he just got that good submission win over Kyle Prepolak at UFC 315, but he really didn't take any damage. He kind of just dominated the entire fight, ended it in the second round. So I think by the time 318 comes around, he should be able to fight again. And he's a pretty active fighter. So he's coming off some knockout wins like Dustin Poirier and Renato Moicano. So I think fighting a grappler who doesn't really have that same knockout threat as like a I don't know, like a Michael Chandler or somebody else around him in the rankings would have is a good idea. So I think this is good for Grant Dawson because he can fight up in the rankings a little bit. If he beats Benoit Saint Denis, then there's an argument that he should be fighting somebody in the top nine, top eight. Maybe we could book him against a Gamrot. And then if Benoit Saint Denis wins this, he's back. You know, he's beat somebody in the rankings. Maybe we can give him uh I'm not really sure who we would give BSD. The thing about him is he's a good fighter. He deserves to be in the top 15, but people are always going to hate on Benoit Saint Denis because of his last three fights. Because got knocked out by Dustin Poirier, then he got 10-7 by Renato Moicano. People are just going to always hate on him, but he definitely deserves to be ranked. I think he beats probably everybody outside the rankings that I can think of. Maybe like a Joel Alvarez. He was booked to fight Joel Alvarez. That would have been bad. Yeah, he would have got like brutally like flying knee knocked out across the octagon. But I think the majority of unranked fighters Benoit Saint Denis would beat, and I think this is a good test for Grant Dawson. Uh, so let's move on. Cyril Gahn versus Jailton Almeida, second fight on the main card. Here's the thing. I have the Alexander Volkov fight in red as if he lost because I know he did technically win that split decision, but everybody knows that was a robbery. I think Cyril Gahn refused to stand in the octagon after the win. Dana White went to Volkov and told him that he got like fucked over. So he is technically coming off of a loss. I know on paper it's a win, but it's really not. He beat Sergey Spivak. Both of these guys beat Sergey actually. I don't know. I think this is just a good matchup for Jilton Almeida mostly because I think the fans are kind of against Cyril Gahn right now because he didn't really try against John Jones and then he robbed Alexander Volkov. I think he gets a lot of unfair hate against him. And Jilton Almeida is coming off that really good knockout win at UFC 311. We got a lot of UFC 311 fighters on here, actually. I didn't even mean to do that. But he's coming off that good win at 311. And I just think this is the best matchup to make. I think Jilton Almeida deserves a step up in competition. If he can beat Cyril Gahn, then maybe we could see Jilton Almeida versus Tom Aspinall for the belt in 2026. Or if he loses, maybe he could fight a. I'm not sure, but Cyril Gahn, if he wins this, I really don't think he deserves another title shot. I think he'll need one more win, maybe like a Curtis Blades or I wouldn't want to see him rematch a Volkov. That's the problem with Cyril Gahn is he's fought everybody in the top 15. So it's really hard to match make him. But I think this is a sick fight. I think if I had to pick somebody to win this fight, I'd probably pick Almeida just because he's a much better wrestler. Sergey Spivak actually surprisingly did have some good wrestling moments against Almeida UFC 311, but I think he's a much better wrestler. I think he'll take down Cyril Gahn, probably submit him or maybe like a ground and pound TKO. Either way, I think it's a good fight. I think it makes sense for the division. I know heavyweight is sort of blocked up at the moment because of John Jones and Tom Aspinall, but I think this just makes sense. Next fight on the card, featured fight, we have Leon Edwards versus Ian Gary. Here's the thing about the UFC. I know that the UFC would never put Leon Edwards versus Ian Gary on a featured fight, and all the fans, everybody watching this, can be like, "No, there's no way the UFC would ever make this." They literally could. There's 8 male divisions with 15 fighters in each division. Lots of interesting prospects outside of the ranked fighters. You're telling me that every main card can't have all ranked fighters in every fight? Doesn't make any sense. The main card on a pay-per-view that's $80 should only have ranked fighters. It should have big names. It should have stars of the sport like Leon Edwards, like Ian Gary. It doesn't make any sense for us to say, no, we need Justin Tafa in the co-main event, like at 312. It doesn't make any sense. The UFC has the ability to make cards like this. They just aren't. They don't care about the fans. They don't care about the sport. Honestly, they just care at this point. They're going to take all the big fights, put it on to fight nights, and like they would take this and make it like the co-main event of a fight night in Europe or something, because it just makes some more money off of ESPN ads. Who do I think would win this? Here's the thing: Leon Edwards. I understand he got dominated by Bilal, not even dominated. That was like a 48-47. I understand he got completely dominated by Sean Brady, and I understand that Ian Gary is coming off a win over Carlos Prates. But I think that is the perfect time to pick Leon Edwards to beat Ian Gary. Why is that? Because I know for a fact if this fight got made, the betting line would be like Ian Gary minus 300, uh, Leon Edwards plus 400. Like, I know for a fact they would make Ian Gary a huge favorite in this fight. And honestly, he hasn't beat anybody in the top 9 of the division. Like Carlos Prates, that's a good win. He's definitely hyped, but I don't think he's anywhere near the level of like a Leon Edwards. And the way people talk about Leon Edwards now is like it's like if he's some unranked fighter and if he gets matched up against anybody in the top 15, he's going to get dominated. Like he was literally the champion a year and a half ago, If this fight was made 2 years ago, Leon Edwards would be a minus 700 favorite. So the fact that now people are talking about Leon Edwards like he's completely washed, he has no skill left. I understand he gives up easily in his fights. I still think he has a big chance against someone like an Ian Gary, somebody like who else in that division could he fight? Um, I was gonna say Joaquin Buckley, but I'm pretty sure Joaquin Buckley would murk him in like the second round. But I think Leon Edwards has a big chance in here. I think he's the cleaner striker. When it comes to the grappling, I think he'll be able to take Ian Gary down. I don't know if he'll be able to hold him down. But I actually do think he's the cleaner striker here. I think he's the better grappler too. I think he's just more well-rounded. He's been in the division longer too, so I think if I had to pick, I'd pick Leon Edwards by like a maybe 29-28 decision, maybe a 30-27. I think he would just barely etch out every round. Ian Gary just hasn't shown me. I guess his Carlos Prates fight was such a great performance, though. That's the thing that messes me up because against MVP really didn't look that good. Against Shavkat didn't look that great until the fifth round. But then against Carlos Prates, he sort of dominated the fight. But then I look at Carlos Prates versus Leon Edwards, and Leon Edwards is just better everywhere than him. So yeah, I'm gonna pick Leon Edwards by probably a unanimous 29-28 decision. Let's move on to the co-main event of the card, which is Arman Sarukian versus Paddy Pimblett. Obviously, we can't put like a Pantoja or a Marab on here, one of those champions who would usually go in the co-main event spot because like if the main event's not for a title, then the co-main event can't be. I think this fight is sick. I haven't seen anybody talk about this, but this is something we could actually do because Paddy Pimblett, probably the most yeah, he's probably the most hyped up prospect in the lightweight division right now. Arman Sarukian, the UFC said they won't give him a title shot. This makes sense. They were trying to give Arman Sarukian some like unranked nobody in the Apex. Okay, everybody remembers that. So you're telling me we can't give him Paddy Pimblett, one of the most hyped up prospects, and give the winner of this a title shot because UFC 317 will have just taken place. We'll have a new champion, probably Ilia Topuria, and we're going to need a number one contender. This is a great number one contenders match. There's nobody else in the division that should be fighting a number one contenders match. Justin Gaethje does not deserve it. Um, who else? Poirier and Holloway are fighting. I think this deserves to be a number one contenders match more than Poirier versus Holloway. I don't think the winner of Poirier and Holloway should deserve a title shot. Arman arguably already deserves the title shot. I understand he pulled out of 311, but at the end of the day, his back was injured. It wasn't really his fault. He should have been paying uh, more like better care of himself. But at the end of the day, this is a sick fight. Who would I pick to win? I think I'd pick Arman Sarukian to either knock him out or just out wrestle him, hold him down, probably win a very clean, unanimous decision. I'd pick Arman Sarukian by, I'd say a third round knockout, or I'd pick him by like a 49-47 or 49-46 decision. Because the thing about Paddy Pimblett is I've never picked him in a fight. I picked him against Tony Ferguson, probably just out of spite. I picked him against Bobby Green, and I picked him against Michael Chandler. But he continues to win every matchup. But he doesn't look good while he fights either, is the thing. Like, he gets better every fight. Against Michael Chandler, he actually looked really good. But, like, his striking just doesn't look good. His wrestling doesn't look good. And he just continues to win. And it doesn't make that much sense to me. The thing about the Michael Chandler matchup is Michael Chandler's ranked like number 12 in the division now. Okay, I know he was ranked like number 8 at the time, but he shouldn't have deserved to be. He arguably shouldn't be ranked right now, actually. And Bobby Green, I mean, everybody has beat Bobby Green, and Bobby Green made a stupid double leg straight into a straight into a guillotine choke. So he has good wins, but I don't think he's impressed me enough to say, yeah, this guy could beat like a Charles Oliveira or this guy could beat an Arman Sarukian. So I think Arman Sarukian wins this pretty easily. I think after that, he'll 100% without a doubt deserve a title fight against the winner of Ilya and Charles. And I think this fight makes a lot of sense for the division. There's nobody else that should really be fighting in a contenders match like this. So on to the main event, already confirmed. We have Poirier and Max Holloway. I when this was originally announced, I kind of didn't like this fight, but I'm starting to hate it less just because like if the UFC came out and said this was a number one contenders match, I would hate it. But it's just for the BMF belt. It's just for fun. I don't mind it too much. They're both coming off losses, Islam and Ilya, so it's kind of hard to get like that hyped for it. But I don't think it makes, I don't think it matters that much in the total sense of the division. But it should be a good fight. What I do have to say, I think I'm gonna pick Dustin Poirier in this, and the reason I'm gonna do that is because I think Poirier and Ilya Topuria actually have very similar styles. I think they have very similar styles of boxing at the very least. And he's beat Holloway twice. So I understand that Max Holloway is going to come out as like a 2-1 favorite just because, oh, he knocked out Justin Gaethje at lightweight. Max at lightweight is unstoppable, but I really don't think that's the case. I think Dustin Poirier has already knocked him out, or not knocked him out, sorry. He's already fought him twice. He finished him once. I just think he's the better fighter. The question I have is what does this mean for Dustin Poirier's legacy in the in the long term? Because people will talk about Volkanovski and they'll say 3 wins over Max Holloway. He's a top three fighter of all time. That's what Lucas Tracy likes to say all the time. But if Dustin Poirier wins this, he'll have those 3 wins too. And I think the rest of his wins match up to Volk or are better. So it doesn't make sense for me to say like Dustin Poirier, top 100 fighter of all time. I think if Poirier wins this match, he's like a top 25 fighter of all time. Because we're looking at win over Justin Gaethje, we're looking to win over 3 wins over Max Holloway, wins 2 wins over Conor McGregor. He's got all these great wins. Almost finished Khabib, almost beat Charles Oliveira. Had a close matchup with Islam. I know a lot of those. I know he lost all those fights. I'm just saying, I think he's one of the most skilled lightweights of all time. If he wins this, I think he's the fourth greatest lightweight of all time. I think it would go Islam, Khabib, Charles, Dustin, and then probably, who would I put in my five? Maybe like a BJ Penn would probably be a good answer for that spot. But in any case, I just, people talk about Poirier like he's just like some ranked eight forever lightweight, but the guy's fought for the title 3 times. I understand he lost all 3 times. I understand he's never won the belt, but 3 wins over a guy like Max Holloway. If this was anybody else, people would be talking about top 10 conversations, top five conversations. We're literally having top three conversations with Volkanovski on Lucas Tracy's channel because of 3 wins over Holloway. So I don't understand why we can't give Dustin Poirier his props. I think this is a good retirement fight. I would have preferred to see the Justin Gaethje matchup. I would have preferred maybe like an Ilya Topuria or an Arman Sarukian matchup. But I think this is out of all of those, I think this is the most winnable besides like a Dan Hooker or Justin Gaethje. So I think this is definitely winnable for Dustin Poirier. I think it's like I'm like 70-30 that he would win this matchup. But we're gonna come out with a new video tomorrow. It's probably I'll do like some rant video or like UFC 317 predictions. So I'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching.